Hi, Mehtab Ali Raza. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am an entrepreneur by profession. I am a student by designation. I like to learn, I like to teach, I like to explore. That's what I'm all about.
And whenever you say you're an entrepreneur, does that mean you start companies?
Yes, I inherited one of the company and I have two startups.
And I mean, what got you into that?
Well, we belong to Sheikh family here in Pakistan, and Sheikh families are usually into business. So business is in our blood, you can say that. We opened eyes and we are always listening into different things and different stuff.
And whenever you're starting a business, what are some things that you look at to see if it's a business that you want to go into or not?
It depends. First, we inherited the FMCG business, fast moving consumer goods. So from very scratch, we always were into FMCG, and FMCG doesn't have any lucrative margins. So when I started my perfumes, now currently I'm working in FMCG and luxury, both industries. So I always wanted to go into luxury industry because it has more lucrative margins. You can play a lot. So it depends what you want to work in, what kind of audience you are targeting, what kind of people you are looking for. So it's kind of variable question and depends what thing are you looking for. For example, for me, money might be the secondary priority and recognition, the brand development, making your dent in the universe, making your mark in the universe is the primary thing. So it is variable question from person to person. Every individual might have a different answer to that.
So I mean, like the Rolex brand is one that I've been kind of fascinated with because, on one hand, it's just keeping time. You can't make phone calls from it. You can't sync it with your iPhone, but yet, and like the actual materials in a Rolex are maybe 1,000th or 1/500th of the cost of the Rolex. Like just the name Rolex. Somehow they've done like this trick where.
Same as with the iPhone. Uh, you are not paying the money for the product. The product itself, if you go if you track down the cost of the product, it might be $100 or $150, but you are paying for the brand. You're paying for the recognition you want among people. For example, in Pakistan, iPhone might be a status symbol. iPhone, the people who are rich are considered to use iPhone, the latest one, obviously. So different. I went to Iraq once. I went to Iran and a few of the countries, and the people I saw there, they are using iPhone and with the AirPods and with the smart watch. They just want to show that they are rich, they are modern, they do all this stuff. So it's the recognition of the brand. What are you targeting? Apple targeted that, and they are providing with the people what they want to see, what they want to show. You won't see a pouch, a cover who would cover the iPhone with the logo. It will always reveal the logo so that people will know he's using the iPhone. He's using the Apple product. So same goes with the MacBook. Same goes with the Rolex. Same goes with the Lamborghini. Same goes with the Ferrari and all that. So it's a different thing.
Now, do you ever run into issues with luxuries where people are like, why are we spending so much money on luxuries when we have this problem or that problem, or this person's poor and that person doesn't have food and global climate change and all this other good stuff?
See, luxury is less about how you feel and more about how you want people to see you. You don't you don't you know a Rolex shows you the same time as a local watch, but you want people to uh, make you see in a rich way, in a different way. I want, if for example, if I'm wearing a Rolex, I want people to consider me as a rich one. If I'm driving a Lamborghini, uh, they might consider me a good one. A Chevy does the same thing. It has four wheels. It drives you to your destination. A Toyota does the same thing. So why do you buy a luxury? Because it's less about how I feel within it and how I want people to perceive. So again, whatever we are talking is a different perspective. It will have a different thought. So to me personally, luxury. Why I stepped into luxury, because people are. It's a monopolistic item. If you have a luxury item, for example, Rolex. There are other watch companies as well. They might be giving the same watches, might be the better ones, but Rolex, it is a symbol. They have got people into it, into it's like a black hole. You're never coming out of it.
Now, you know, for like the iPhone, maybe you only need to be making like an iPhone, perhaps half the world could be rich enough to own one, right? A Rolex, you know, maybe that is down to like 10% of the world or something like that. And then like a private jet, maybe that's like in the top 1%.
Yes.
But now the top 1%, there's like what, 7 billion people in the world. So 1% is like 70 million, no,
700,000 maybe.
is it 700,000? I don't know. Maybe it's you got to move the decimal place over two places, right? So I think it's 70 million.
It will be 7 million.
7 million. Okay. Actually, I think it's 70 million, right? Because you multiply 7 million by 100, you get 700 million. You multiply 70 million, you get, so 70 million people in that top 1%, right? So now they have a big problem because like, how do they differentiate their status, right? You know, so some of them, I mean, and you know, if you look at Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Richard Branson, their answer is, I want to start a space company.
Yes. You know, there's usually when there's corruption in some area, specific area in different countries, they always create an example. For example, in bureaucracy here, people say things are corrupt inside. So they always create an example. They would pick someone who is really poor and make him look like he toppled the list. Why? Because of the inspiration. Because that 1% is driving the other 7 billion people. So you won't find a guy. I bet you won't find a guy on the road who doesn't want to own a private jet, who doesn't want to wear a Rolex. Why is that? Because the symbol, the people, the 1%, as our earlier conversation, the people on the list, that 1% who is controlling the world, they want people, they don't leave people with the choices. They just show them what they want to show, so that people, for example, if I'm on that 1% list, I would give you two options. I want to give you either buy this or that one. So as the other people on the 7 million, you have only two choices, and both of them, I give you the choices. So you don't have the choice to create your own way. So I think it's pretty much messed up thing.
Yeah.
Do you really think there is democracy?
Do I really think there's democracy? Well, I think we all have a role in shaping the future. I think sometimes we kind of quit or give up our power. We make excuses for ourselves. So by democracy, you know, if you're talking about everybody has equal say, that's definitely not true, right? Because if you're, I mean, like if I wanted to reach out to 1 million people, I probably would not be able to make a substantial impact on 1 million people. But somebody willing to do like $100 million media campaign, I can reach and influence and shape the opinions of those people and get them all running in a certain direction. I mean, that the only way I get people running is by yelling fire, fire, fire. And that only works like, I mean, it needs to be real. Otherwise, people won't listen the second or third time.
So the strategy you're talking about is, again, those 1% people possess.
Yeah.
That's what my point is. We don't have choices. We don't have options. We just have the options which are provided to us by those 1%. My opinion is, you can't really talk about the choices. You can't really talk about the other things. Even if you have, you can't go there. Even if you think there's an idea, if you have the idea that there is a third way, you can't go there because practically it won't be possible. And a lone man striving for the third way or the path that is less traveled by might take a lot of time and efforts to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the people, the 7 billion people, the people around the world have very limited choices, have very limited options, very limited ways, only provided by the think tanks. That's my opinion.
Well, I think that's part of the way that 1% tries to control and influence things, is by getting people to think that way.
Yes.
You know, because in reality, you could choose to ignore all that and do something different. Except I see several challenges. One is people aren't that good at making teams. Two, people want to have some type of guarantee that's going to have a positive outcome. Like, you know, they won't necessarily risk it all to try to make something happen. And three is, you know, these big companies, these big brands, these wealthy individuals have a weight of their own that seem to attract more and more people, giving them more and more weight. Whereas, you know, you and I could start a business, you know, international business. We have offices in 2 places starting today, you know, and we could do something that other people may not be positioned to do. But, you know, we don't know each other. You know, I'm just a nobody here in Houston. I'm sure you're somebody there, but, you know, I don't know your situation. So, you know, so like those connections don't happen. But, you know, if you were like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, you know, I'd be like, hey, yeah, let's do business. And so like the deals emerge, right?
So, again, we are concluding at the same point that 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. In order for you to become someone influential, you have to move towards that 1%. Out of 7 billion people, if you want to make a dent in the universe, if you want to do something, if you want to make your mark, if you want to do something incredible, even for your project, you're working on the project, you would more prefer getting those 1% on the interview, on the call. See, so that 1% is really important. Again, we are, no matter what we discuss, no matter what we talk about, at the end of the day, we will conclude to the same point, that 1%.
Yeah. Yeah, well, well, what are some things that you would like to see changed in the world?
Well, to be very honest, in my perspective, I would want everybody to have the right to education, free necessities, like free food, free water, free shelter. And I just don't like all of us, no matter where you are from, no matter where you belong to, all of us are running after money. The life is supposed to be other way around. You were sent here to live and explore. Whereas all of us, I mean, most of us, the majority of people, they get up early in the morning, they go to office, they work all day off, they get back and they go to sleep. They wake up, they go to office, they work, they come back and they sleep. That's the loop they're all into. I would like everybody to have their own life. If someone likes to explore the nature, he should go out in the woods without worrying about the food, without worrying about the shelter, without worrying about how his family would survive. I would like the governments, the countries to become the welfare state, to provide people with the basic food, the basic necessity, the basic uh, money he or she requires, the basic things, so that he could stop worrying about the food, he could stop worrying about the shelter, he could stop worrying about the water and go out in the world and do whatever he wants to. Most of us in the world don't like the job they're doing. They're just there because they want to live life. They want to buy the necessities. They don't like their work. They're just there. They're just working without passion, like the machines. Like, again, same loop. They just wake up, they go to office. So consider what would be the working efficiency of a guy who doesn't want to be on the job. It won't be efficient. So I want it the other way around. Give them the basic necessities. He doesn't have to worry about that, and let him do whatever he wants to do. He would craft out the masterpieces, no matter whatever he wanted. If he wants to be an explorer, he would travel the mountains. He would travel the deserts. He would travel the every landscapes of the world. If he wants to be a carpenter, he would craft out masterpieces out of it, because he is not worried about the food he wants to give to his offspring, of his children, sibling, parents, or anybody, because that is already done. I might be, I might sound very optimist. There might be another picture of that too, but I'm talking about the majority, not the minority. Obviously, always there are always black sheep out there. So look at the brighter part, and you know you have a whole world to explore.
But I just feel like that for the vast majority of people, they don't have a passion. They're sort of sleepwalking through life. It's not like they have this thing they really want to do, and they're forced to do something else. I think for the vast majority of people, they don't know what to do.
Because I mean, by we, I mean the people, the forces. They have gotten people to worry about the things he shouldn't be worrying about all the time. There would be two kind of people if you give them the basic necessities. Either they would be very passionate people, or they would be people who are careless, who think the basic necessities are being fulfilled and they don't need to do anything. But the probability to create Steve Jobs, to create like Elon Musk and people, it will go high, because those people are dedicatedly working towards their passion, and they would craft out something. Something. I'm not telling you they would do this and that and that. They would craft out. You never know. They would work on technology. They could work on nature. They could work on arts. They could work on anything. If I like art, if I like doing arts, and in my country, let's say, I'm just supposing, in my country, art isn't that much high paying field and doesn't get much appreciated. Why would I do arts? Why would I draw paintings? But when I know I would starve my kids to death. So I want to give them a better life, better opportunities. So I would definitely be working as a finance broker, as a banker, as someone where I could get the money out of it. And every day every evening I might sit to my desk and I would, curse myself. Where have I got into? I always wanted to draw drawings, make pictures, go into arts. That's my opinion. Let the people do what they want to do.
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
I have one son, and he's 1.5 years old. Yeah.
Okay. I
But
have
I have
two
my sibling.
children.
I have my sibling, and I was 10 when my father passed away, and in our culture in Pakistan, I was 10 when I became a father of three of my siblings, indirectly. So my
And how much
siblings are
younger are they?
my youngest sibling. He's my brother, and he is 20 right now.
Okay.
And the one next to me is 3 years younger to me. So I have, I grew up along with them, and I played the role of father as well as elder brother as well. I, in fact, even today, I always want to give them. For example, if my brother wants to go into aviation, and he always wanted to go into aviation, but due to not sufficient opportunities here, it wasn't feasible for him to go to aviation because the aviation was offered in another city. It was way too much expensive. He couldn't follow his passion. He is currently studying business. The guy who was supposed to study aviation, who was supposed to go into aviation, he's studying business. Consider what would be his efficiency. Reason? Because of the worry, the worry, the money. They made it so much expensive that only the cream, those 1%, could go into aviation. So that's my opinion. If he wants to go into aviation and he doesn't have enough resources, let him go there. Let him find what he wants to find.
Well, the reason I asked if you had children was I was just thinking back to like kids, who are like 2 years old, 3 years old. They are fearless and they are curious, like beyond imagination. They will try out everything. Every two objects in their life, they will try to put together and see what they can make out of it. They'll break stuff, they'll throw stuff, they'll mark up the walls, and they're just completely.
Nathan, can you give me just a minute? Just a
Sure.
minute. Just a minute. I'll be back.
Again. But what I was wanting to say is that kids are very passionate about exploring their environments whenever they're a young age, and then we put them into we start creating boundaries around them and start pushing them to conform to certain behaviors. I mean, like, I don't know how schools are where you are, but I gotta think that the general pattern of the school is very similar to the way the schools are where we are, where you take the kid, you put them in school, and basically there are two measures that the kid is measured by. One is, will they sit still and be quiet? Like that is, like that's success. Success is can you do nothing for long periods of time? And the second thing that they're measured by is, can they put the right marks in the paper that match the marks in the back of the book? So we do this for a decade, 2 decades, 2.5 decades. And then we're like, go off and invent something, make something of yourself. They're like, I'm ready to sit. I'm ready to sit all day. I'm a good sitter.
I was part of a research study on the kids. In Pakistan, when you go and ask any kid, what do you want to become? He would say doctor, engineer. Few might say pilot, or few might say who have, because my major is business, I was doing research study relative to entrepreneurship business. So very few might say bureaucracy or bureaucrats. Those who have a knowledge or awareness to bureaucrats only, they would say either their father or their any uncle or some of their relative would be bureaucrat. No one would say they want to be businessmen, they want to be entrepreneurs, even if their father or the family all belongs to the businessman, business family. No one would say that. So the question ignited, why don't they say that? Why don't the guy whose father has his own business, who's working, whose father or grandfathers or all of this family were into business, he won't say that I want to be a businessman. And 99% chances are he would end up being into business. But why doesn't he has any inspiration from the childhood? I usually say, do not transfer your fears to your children. I say that. Reason, uh, as per your statement, you just said, if you see 2 to 3 years old kids, they're fearless. They would go here and there, and the parents would start saying, don't go there, stop, don't do that, don't do that. And the similar, the two ways to assess, just as you said, are all around the globe, I suppose. So when you admit your children, your siblings, your offspring to any school or any Montessori, they start creating the boundaries inside. So they stop the thinking abilities, the creating abilities, the inventing abilities of the child by putting the boundaries around. And only the fearless one, only the troublemakers break those boundaries and go ahead. And they are actually the inventors. If you see any children in the world who has done something, why? There's often asked question, why were the Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all of the successful people were dropouts? Why? Because they were the troublemakers. They knew how to break the boundaries. Usually you admit your children in school or Montessori in the age of 3 or 4 years. Before even I became a father, I always talk to my family that whenever I become father, I will not admit my offspring, my children, my son or my daughter into school until and unless he or she is 7. The reason, I believe, up till 7 in Islam, the kids are not. It's not their obligation to offer prayer until and unless for the son until he's 12, and for the daughter until she's 9. But they say start practicing them by the age they are 7. So there might be something, some significance in the age of 7. So when I researched the brain, the brain of a child develops into the logical phase. They start creating their own logics by the age of 7. So that's the age when they are mature enough to handle. So when you admit a child into a school when he's 3 or 4, his brain, his or her brain was developing, and you already started putting boundaries around. So it won't grow that way. By the age of 7, it has already grown into sufficient space that he or she knows what is good for her or not, him or her. So it's again, I don't know whether I'm right or not. That is my research, and I will experiment that on my own children, my own offspring, my own son. He won't go to school. I didn't mean that he won't learn, he won't get knowledge, he won't get education. He will be educated, but not in the formal way, not in the casual way what schools are doing. I will not let him go into examination pressure. I would not let him. Uh, I will not let the teachers create the boundaries around his brain, mind, because I believe he is a free spirit. Let him decide what I usually in Pakistan, the parents decide in which career does the student wants to go. That was the generation, we call it generation Y or Z, the previous one, our fathers or grandfathers. They decide the career of the child. But currently, people are thinking over and changing their perspective. So I don't want my children to become a doctor or engineer or anything because I like them to be. I just want them to do whatever they want to do, follow their passion. Obviously on a few defined ways, few moral values, few societal values, because I have a different perspective. If I want to let things go, I would admit him to school at the age of 3 and let him the part of rat race that's going all around, run after numbers, go to the examination pressure, and not develop. You know, I've seen kids who are genius in numbers in examination. They have scored 100 out of 100, but emotionally, they're not able to handle it. They don't know what to do when relation, mess ups. They don't know how to cater it. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how even when they are adults and even when they are mature, when they are married, they don't know how to cater the relation between a husband and wife. They don't know how to handle the son and child relation. They don't know how to handle a relation with his or her mother. Reason? Because you have given them the direction just to work on the grades, on the numbers, and you haven't made them emotionally, sensibly strong enough to handle the things. Along with many things in the world, for the kids, I would like this to change. Let them the free spirit and let them try what they want to. Relieve them with the pressure of making money. The world has driven to a side. The world has driven to is driving basically to the money oriented. You will find people who are rich. They will have lots of girls and lots of girlfriends and the gold diggers and all that. Why are you making the world go like that? So the men are always running after money. To make enough money, they could show off and get you know what I mean. And
But that only works if the girls are poor.
not really, not really. Uh, would you did you really find any rich girl who is with poor guy? Even if there
No,
are,
but
even if there are, the families won't agree. Things. That's what I'm talking about. You have made money a symbol. If he has this number of dollars in his account or rupees in his account, only then he's eligible enough to marry my daughter or my XYZ. So you have made a benchmark. The money is the benchmark. It shouldn't be the benchmark. The credibility of the guy, the humility of the guy. I'm talking guy as in general form. It could be any gender, his or her. So the humility, the education, the sensibility, the how he looks into the world, whether he's optimist, whether he's pessimist, that should be the benchmark. I believe that that's only my belief. I might be wrong, but that's my opinion, and I am trying to build the world around me, the people around me. For example, my close family, my siblings, my children, my wife, my mother. I'm trying to make their mind this way that they shouldn't be materialistic. They should look beyond the money. They should look the other way around.
the challenge I think you have and the rest of society has is that to a large extent we accept the values of the community in which we live. So if you have a community that values invention or art or discovery, the people in that community are going to go and develop dance and music and movies, or they're going to go out and explore different things and come back with their stories and what they got, or they're going to, go and invent stuff, right? Um, so, I mean, largely, you almost need to find a group of people that share your vision in order to collectively make it happen.
True. But either you can find the people or you could start building them. I just told you I am trying to build the mind of my close ones, my siblings. I don't need to teach them or preach them. I just need to do things my way and they will observe and automatically start doing that. My children, they will grow up looking at me doing the stuff I'm doing, and they will start imitating it subconsciously. I won't have to
Absolutely.
feed, I won't have to feed them. I won't have to teach them. I won't have to, preach them that. So this is what you need to do. You need to just keep doing things to your own, and the people you will become the magnet, and all the nails will start gathering around. Now, I am always fascinated with a story. There was a guy who was standing at the shore of the sea, and he was, at the evening, all the jellyfish come to the shore and they die. You know, so it's just a story. So he was standing with the viper, and he was trying to push the jellyfish away to the sea, back to the sea, so they could survive. So a guy who was just passing by, he saw him and asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to save the jellyfishes." He said, "You can't do it all alone by yourself. It won't make any difference." So he just picked up one jellyfish and threw back into the sea, and he said, "It certainly made a difference to that jellyfish. It survived." So it doesn't matter whether you are creating difference to the mass or to some individual. The question is whether you are making difference or not. If you have to choose between doing nothing and doing something small, what would you do? I think start with the small end. The things will start making an impact. Any politician, any leader in the world doesn't become leader overnight. He started with very small. He started doing things to himself, and then one or two people became influenced. Then there were tens of people who influenced. Then there were hundreds and thousands, and then the millions. Then he became the president of the United States or Pakistan or anything. And the current prime minister of Pakistan started his journey 22 years back when he was a famous cricketer already. Even then, it took around 22 years for him to become the prime minister of Pakistan. It's a journey. You just start doing things without thinking whether it would impact a large scale or not. And after a specific timeline, might be a year, after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. And you will see you started with this one. All of the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates, they started from the garage, and now they are giants. So it doesn't matter. What matters is whether you start or not, whether you take the initiative or not. If you take the initiative, if you are courageous enough to start, you will build an empire one day. That's what I believe, and you just need to do it. You just need to go for it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Big things start small.
Small, yeah. Just let people do what they want to do, regardless of the scale, regardless of what he's earning, regardless what he's making. Do not make the benchmark, do not create the boundaries around them, and let them explore. One day they will be big. One day they will become what according to your definition of big, they will become. I can't define the timeline whether he or she would become in a day or two, a week, a month, a year. I don't know. It might take a whole generation for him to become big, but he will become big. Just have faith in him and let him do whatever he wants to do.
But basically, one thing that you're saying is there are all these challenges that people have to face if they want to pursue their dreams. And the thing that I hear you proposing is we should remove some of those challenges so that it's easier for them to pursue their dreams. But another thing is, how do we make people stronger so that they pursue their dreams regardless of the challenge? Because that's also another option.
You know, the first obstacle, do you know what's the first obstacle of anyone chasing his or her dream?
I would
You know,
say, your own mind, like you
no,
are your
no,
own
no.
obstacle.
Yeah, but I often say that the only person who can stop you from doing something is you yourself. That's the first step. Okay, so after that, if I made my mind to become a singer or a dancer, maybe, if I'm healthy and I want to become a dancer, and I have made up my mind, I am determined enough to become a dancer. What would be the first obstacle? I'll come to you, and you being my friend, I would, ask you that I want to become a dancer, and you might be, or the people around me, they would start laughing. They would start discriminating. They would start saying, "No, you can't become a dancer. That's not for you. That you are not made for it." Or blah 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 blah. There are multiple things. So that would be the first obstacle. That would be the first thing. I would be depressed. I won't be comfortable enough to become a dancer. So I believe that's the first obstacle. So the people around you are, when someone comes to me and discusses that he or she wants to become that, and I know that they are not made for it, I don't just deny them. No, you can't do that, blah 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 blah. Because to find your passion, you might have to try and fail. Might be once, might twice, might thrice. You should have to keep on trying. Colonel Sanders, the one who owned the KFC, he failed until at the age of 60s. The company, Rovio Mobile or Rovio Games, who made the Angry Birds. Angry Birds was their 61st or 62nd success after 60 failures. So you need to keep on failing and then iterating and then trying something else until and unless you find your passion, if you don't know it. The people around you should buck you up. They should have faith in you that even if you're not made for it, you will find your own way. Until and unless I'm the mentor and I am the expert of that specific field, only then I have the right to guide him or her. Guide him, not discriminate. The people around you, I think you should surround yourself in the people who could buck you up, or the on the mass level, on the bigger scale, those 1% should work on this awareness. The people around you should not discriminate. They should buck you up. They should be your well-wishers, not the one who laugh. My mentor once told me that initially when I wanted to become motivational speaker, my mentor, he said, my closest friends, they laughed on me and they said, "You're not going to make it." Thanks. Now he is a very successful motivational speaker here in Pakistan. And now those same friends who laughed at the beginning of his journey, now they tell people how do they know him, that he's their friend, and they have links with my mentor and all that. So there will be people. You need to either surround yourself with the people who buck you up if you're an individual, or if you're working for the masses, if you want to change the masses, you should change this. You should change the mind of the people. They should not discriminate and demotivate the people around. Everyone makes mistake, and to me, if you haven't made any mistake, and if you are not willing to make any mistake, you won't be successful. In order to become successful, you have to fail so that you learn how to make right decisions.
I want to tell you something related to that I hope you find funny. So there's this comedian who was, on the stage telling jokes, and he says, when I told everybody I wanted to be a comedian, they all laughed at me. And then he says, they're not laughing now.
That's a good one.
I did have a few questions I wanted to run by you. Where do you see humanity 200 years from now?
If keeping the things constant, I see if the things keep on going this way that they are going right now, I would see few people who are very rich and few people who are very poor. There would be no one in the middle. Currently, you have three classes. They're rich, they're middle class, they're lower class. There would be lower class who is too poor, and there's a rich class who's too rich. So I think in 100 or 200 years, it would be like that. There would be chaos. You know, my teacher once told me, whatever you see in movies, either that technology or that thing or that concept is existing, but you might not be aware of it, or it's coming into the future. It's coming. It's very soon. He gave us an example that I don't know. I'm always very weak in the history, so I'm not sure which country was, which countries were in the World War II. So I'm very weak in that. I'm really very sorry for that. So let's suppose there was country A who, attacked the country B with fighter jets, and that time there was gliders or some wingmen who shot the guns from the planes. So the country A went attacked country B with the fighter jets. The country B retaliated and attacked back after 3 days with the same jets. How did they created the same technology in 3 days? So that means the technology might not have existed 3 days earlier, but it was in the process. So whatever you see in the movies, it's either in the process or that's a concept which you are going to see very in the coming future. So there are lots of movies which you would see the rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer. So I believe, I might be biased, so I believe there are two kind of people, two kind of classes, either too rich or too poor, and that would be a chaos. The poor would kill for anything to get the basic necessities, to get the basic rights, whereas the rich won't bother, whether they would not look upon or look down to the poor. That's my
opinion. Well, I do think that in 200 years we're still all on the Earth, or do you think some people have kind of moved out into like orbital stations, or to the moon, or to Mars, or something beyond?
So, okay, if my perception becomes a reality after 200 years, and there remains two classes, the higher ones or the lower ones. The higher ones, the rich ones, would definitely would like to move out of the people where they don't have to face the poor ones. And if they have enough resources, if they have enough money, they would move out either to the moon, to the Mars, to the orbital spaces, or whatever the opportunities would be there. They would move so that they don't have to face them. They don't have to, engage with them in any ways. That's how the rich works, even in current days, even now, in the present moment. The rich who are too rich, they don't like to see the poor. That's how it works. So definitely, if there is, again, those 1% have given the choices either to live here or to move out to space because they want the people, the rich, to get out into space to make money. So they would give them the choice, the opportunity. And those who have the resources would go, and those who won't would be struggling enough to earn enough much to move out. If the things kept on the way they are, but I believe I'm optimist in nature. I believe things would change. Things would change, and the people. Uh, we are currently in the state of economy. We are shifting from uh, we are shifting to the modernization, and the transitional space in between is economy. There's no law and order. There are corrupt people. There are, the people are not aware enough. So currently we are in the state of economy. Might be before 200 years or before that, the space options, we reach to the state of modernization where the people have understood, the leadership has understood to give, and they are loyal to the people, and they want to give right education and right awareness to the people. So there might be no option for the space. There might be people live with the harmony, but that's an optimist approach, and that isn't necessary.
But I think you're right. I think Bill Gates even said that if the rich live next to the poor, the world would be a completely different place.
Yes.
It's by, and even like if you look at like the story about Buddha and stuff, somebody's like, he can't see an old person, he can't see a sick person, he can't see, a poor person, but once he ran across these people, it transformed his mission in his life.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, so that's a very good point. So just kind of coming back to more recent times, did you know that NASA is planning to send astronauts back to the moon again for the first time since 1972?
I recently came to read your blog or read your project, and that's where I came to know about it.
And what do you think about that?
Well, again, are you sure the astronauts went to the moon in the first place? Are you?
I feel very sure about it, because several things. We have the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which has been orbiting the moon for several years now, and it's taken very detailed pictures of the surface, and we can see, the equipment they left behind, the tracks they made in the lunar dust. So I think we have enough evidence to be there. But also another thing, consider this, the Russians and the US were sort of in a space race. And, the Russians definitely had the motivation and the technical capabilities to figure out if something was faked or not. So I think considering that Russians aren't saying that we didn't go to the moon, I think that should also be pretty good evidence that we went, right?
Well, there are different conspiracies. If you want to believe that, if you're optimist and you want to believe that they have been to the moon just because you believe the people won't lie, the people are right. So you would believe that. And if you are pessimist, if you are realist or pessimist, and if you don't want to believe that they haven't been to moon, they have created something in the studios and done all that. You might find it funny. I saw a video of India. The road was bumpy, and there were, the roads, and a guy was wearing an astronaut suit, and he was moving like slow walk, like there was anti-gravity, and he created that. The caption said, "America spent millions of dollars to send astronaut on the moon, but we did that in 300 rupees. They just made the astronaut suit, and they was just acting out." So just talking about that, it, again, they just show you what they want you to believe, and I believe that I believe on the first place that astronauts has been to moon, but on the second conspiracy, I also think that it might be a bigger lobby, and they just want you to believe that they have been to moon. They might actually not. So let's see if uh, that's was the past and we were not born then. Currently, we are here to witness if the people goes to the moon. That would be reality. So if there's an opportunity to exploring the moon and exploring the humanity and going there and build for the sake of wellness, for the sake of welfare, that's good. It's good enough.
I've talked to a number of people who don't believe we've been to the moon. You know, I asked them that question. Uh, did you know that NASA's planning to send astronauts to the moon again for the first time since 1972? And I think the response I got from one of them was, "I hope they make it this time," or something like that. But you know, I think basically all the reasons I've heard. One is if we went to the moon, why aren't we going there now? Which is kind of an interesting point. Two is the quality of the video of the people going to the moon. It's like, why is it so poor and bad, you know? And I mean, and you know, people point out things like, why is the flag moving this way and this like that? You know, the moon's a strange environment. You know, why do we think we have such a better understanding of it? You know, we haven't really been in that environment enough, you know, about the stiffness of the flag, the electrostatic forces, you know, other things. But it's just kind of interesting. I think once we start going back to the moon and people are like, oh, we can actually, you know, there's nothing magical about it's just engineering, you know, science and engineering. I think that help a lot of people. And then once you start getting like on the ground close-up footage of us having been there before, I think that take care of that other issue too, but we'll see. People, I mean, there's a whole flat Earth society, and I swear, I think these people really want to go to space, but they can't afford it. So they want to like annoy somebody enough. They're like, here, let me show you the Earth is round. I'll send you to space for free. That's my theory.
There are, you know, there's an often quoted proverb in Urdu, "Jitne muh utni baatein." That means the number of people, the number of opinions. So you might find more people in the future while interviewing for your project who might not believe even, you know, in Islam I have seen few people who are atheists who does not follow any religion. When you talk to them about Jesus or Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the instant reaction, their instant reaction is, "Are you sure they were there? Are you sure it's not, you know, a made-up story?" So you know, you can't find those, you can't fight those people. They have their own beliefs. They are very, you know, stagnant upon, and it would take mountains to move their belief. But they might eventually turn out and they start believing the fact is. To me, moving out to the moon is good if it's for the welfare of the people. If first of all, I don't think they should. You know, it's the area which doesn't need so much focus on. You need to empower people here. The world is not filled 100%. We are not over occupied. We have not utilized 100% capacity of the world. Now build it first. Let the people, you and I see lots of people in Syria, in Ukraine, in Russia who are starving to death. Help them first. Let them have the basics. Let them have the right. And then when you are done and you have excess money and you want to explore, go to the moon, go to the Mars, go to Saturn. You might develop technology someday to go to the sun as well. That's good. But after you are done with the basics, you know, you are, if it would be stupid of me if I'm unable to provide the food, the basics to my family and I'm thinking to buy a Lamborghini. It would be stupid of me. I should fulfill the basic requirements, the basic needs first. And if it's done, they're healthy, they're getting right education, they have every basic right they have to, they are spending a good life, and I have so much excess money in my account, then it's good and seems reasonable to buy a Lamborghini. If I don't have the money in my account, I'm unable to feed the family, and I take loan from a bank to buy a Lamborghini, that would be stupid of me. So I believe if it if you want to go to a moon or Mars or any other planet, and it's for the welfare of the people, fulfill the welfare first here in the world. And if you are done, if you're 80% on the capacity and you forecast that in the future we need 50 years from now or 100 years from now we need to have more space, go to Mars, go to moon, explore it, build communities there, take people along, you know, it will develop, the people will reproduce, and the humanity would keep on expanding. But after you have fulfilled the obligations first. Obligation, in a sense, feed the poor, stop the war, let the world become a welfare state rather than, we are Pakistan and India, we are neighbors. And for the last 60, 70 years, the governments, the armies, they have kept on threatening each other. That if the armies have continuously threatening the governments to give budgets to them, or the Pakistan will destroy us, or the Pakistani army has claimed to the government of Pakistan to give them budget, or the Indian army will destroy us. Why? We are neighbors, live with peace. Pakistan wants to live in peace, India wants to live in peace. Let them live in peace and spend the budget on the right side. Spend the budget to feed the poor. The coffin doesn't have any pockets. You're not going to take this money to when you die. You're not going to take it anywhere. Spend it in the right direction. Spend it in the right way. Give people the basics, the necessities, and let them live. And when you have excess money, go and do that. That's my opinion.
I know if we could figure out peace between India and Pakistan, that would be a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
But it's not just the government. My wife is Indian, so I've been to India several times, and I've met many people in India who they'll talk about how every issue that India faces is somehow being created by Pakistan. This is like a common thing. And then over here, Indians and Pakistanis in the US, they're best of friends.
Yes, they are best friends. And I have many friends in India. Trust me, every issue that comes into India is the media portrays it as it's created by Pakistan, as you have just said. It has nothing to do with Pakistan, but that's what I'm telling you. That 1% of India, that 1% who is thinking, or the think tanks, they always propagate against Pakistan. Reason? They want people to believe what they want to show them. That's if you take the example of your own house, you have kids. For their betterment, you give them your perspective, and you want them to think what you want them to think. If they start doing that, might not be the first day, after a week or a month or a year, they start thinking the same pattern you want them to think. So this goes with, if it's happening in the house, this goes with the community, this goes with the city, this goes with the country, this goes with the world. So that 1% is always there. You are that 1% of your own house. You, or might be your wife, or might be someone in your house, or someone everywhere is that 1% who develops the thinking pattern of other people around you the same way they want them to think. And this goes on, the list goes on. And you see, you just gave the example yourself about the India and Pakistan.
Exactly. And once you're focused on that, you're no longer dealing with the things you can control. You're not fixing your streets, you're not fixing your buildings, you're not teaching your kids. You're like all focused on the wrong thing.
Yes. So that's what my point is. That's what my opinion is. Let live the people with peace. Stop the word collateral damage. Stop it. The people have suffered a lot, not only in Pakistan and India, all over the world. The people have suffered. The Syrian people, the Ukraine, the current Russian and Ukraine war, they're suffering. People are suffering. Why? Let them live with their right to live. If they don't want to be part of a specific thing, why do you force them to be? Let them have the life they want to. And when you have created a welfare world, not state, not country, the welfare world, and you have excess resources, go and expand, go and explore. Take the people. Simple.
Well, let's assume that we actually did that. And now space travel is safe and affordable. Would you take a trip to space?
If, I always have this keen desire to go and visit the world, go on the world tour. So if I'm done with that, I've seen every part of the world, I have enough resources, and the world is welfare state, and there's no threat of going to space. Obviously, I would like to explore. I'm an explorer.
Let's say that your great granddaughter has grown up on Mars her entire life. She's now in high school, maybe like 11th standard or so, 10th standard. And she's in history class doing a paper on the 2020s. And she comes across this video, to find out what her great grandfather had to say about the time. What are some things you'd like to see her put in that paper about today's time?
That the world was full of chaos, and her great grandfather was always in the process, was always in the struggle to make it a welfare state. Was thinking his grandfather was thinking about the well-being of the people, to empower the individual. He was struggling that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I hope someday to meet you in person.
Yeah, I would love to host you. I would insist you to visit, if you come to India, visit Pakistan as well, and allow me to be your host.
I would love that too. So we should stay in contact and I would see about making that happen.
Yeah, sure. You're more than welcome.
But thank you so much. I know we talked about a lot. I feel like we probably talk about a lot more.
Yeah.
Somebody once said it's like having a cup of tea with a stranger or something. It's always a good thing to do.
Sometimes the conversation turns out to be amazing, and sometimes you feel like getting out of it.
And the bad makes the good better. So, but thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I look forward to staying in touch.
We will be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.